What's happening, folks? Welcome back to the channel. It's full-time reaction to Midtjylland 3, Celtic 1. I've got Stuart back with me tonight. This might well be brief, this full-time reaction, because, Stuart, I don't think there's a great deal to say about that other than we are miles short of where Midtjylland are. They've got quality and strength, and quite clearly we haven't at this minute in time. Would you make of that?
It's a sad state of affairs when a team in Denmark is that far ahead of a team that Celtic's putting out there, especially a team that's kind of buoyed by a bit of confidence, a couple of wins under the interim manager, etc. But it just comes back to the old recruitment thing to a part. I don't think... I think Johan Mjällby in commentary said, you can't really blame him for the team he picked and blah, blah, blah. And he's got a point, man. The defending was just beyond inept. It comes back to not getting the right kind of recruitment done, I think, to a point. And, do you know, you said strength. See the physical strength, the specimens that they had in their team. Compared to us, where we've built a kind of technical footballing team that can't play much technical football. So, that's where we're at.
It was clear tonight. I actually thought the first 10, 15 minutes, maybe the first 10 minutes, we kept the ball okay. There wasn't much in the game. I don't think Midtjylland started it particularly well, but after the 20-minute mark, they did really grow into it and they took control of it, and they just really overpowered us. We just looked so weak in the game, and we go on to concede 3 goals in the space of 10 minutes or less. I think it's only 7 or 8 minutes actually. And from what seemed like an all right situation at 0-0, approaching just after the half-hour mark, I mean, we absolutely crumbled. I think we were physically short. I think the defending was woeful at times in the full-back areas. Ralston obviously had a nightmare twice in 2 minutes, first letting the cross come in for the opening goal. I think the defending at the back post, I mean, I think Tierney's the closest challenger to the player that heads it in, Ehrlich. But, I mean, there's very little challenge there because he only sees him very, very late, reacts late. I think there's another man over for Midtjylland at the back post as well. Just all over the place defensively. And then less than a minute later, Ralston and Engels combine to let Gorgoza come inside, and he finds a far corner past Schmeichel. I mean, it's woeful defending. There's no way that 2 Celtic players can let him get inside in between them and get a shot off at goal that easily. And then again, the third goal, comes to the back post from a corner. I think the second phaser was from a long throw. Whatever it is, we don't deal with it. It comes to the back post again. We're just all at sea. And Francolino, who's their top man up front, has got loads of time. Tierney and Tenekte are there in the vicinity, but they just sort of stand back and don't put enough pressure on the ball, let him curl his shot into the far corner. Schmeichel's helpless, but I mean, our strikers had a free shot at goal from inside the box, and he's guided it to the far post, and the keeper can't do anything about it. Woeful defensively. And then I just thought a really meek... We made changes at half-time, but I mean, I think the first shot on target, second half, maybe 70-odd minutes. Get a goal back through the penalty, but nothing really comes from that. I just thought a really, really poor night, Stuart. And the 2 good domestic wins, who would have thought it, didn't banish all of the problems that have lay in this squad for a long time now, certainly since the summer.
No, definitely not. I think the fact is, when we used to think of kind of European games and the step up in class, you would think of your world-class opposition, or even the rung just below the kind of world-class opposition. You'd be like, right, we've got to step up, we've got to come to these games. But even third and fourth tier European games now appear to be a step up for Celtic for the domestic stuff. And I think it's a combination of confidence, and then the one thing is, for like the dearly departed Mr. Brendan Rodgers, the style of football that he played suited itself for kind of European games when it was working well, because it was a case of not letting the game become too stretched, becoming quite tactical with it and things like that. I think
Celtic take possession.
Exactly. Whereas I think even in the domestic games that particularly the Rangers game, which we did not manage well, right? It was a good win in the end, and a real feel-good factor type situation, but we didn't manage that game well against 10 men. And I think tactically tonight you could see it's almost like we've gone from being quite sort of tactically adept less than 12 months ago to go toe-to-toe with Bayern Munich to being back to just being naive and like deers and headlights, if you want to use the old cliche there. And it's sad for me now that I have to look at a game against FC Midtjylland as a step up for Celtic. We need to rise to. That should be a game that we should already have the ability within the squad and the confidence within the squad to go, we can take this head on, and we just don't.
Aye, look, Midtjylland are in good form. They are top of the Europa League table at the minute. They're a well-run club, but like you say, to come into a European game like this, where historically you've associated Celtic with trying to reach upwards and compete with bigger clubs with bigger resources, we now find ourselves like miles short of where a club like Midtjylland is now. To come back to all of the fallout from the summer, the meetings the club had with the fan groups, all of that stuff, where there's an insistence time and time again that there's absolutely no problems with Celtic's recruitment model and how Celtic operates in the transfer market. And we've just been ripped apart, played off the pitch by a team with a fifth of our resources. I mean, if that doesn't tell you what can be done with modern, forward-thinking, progressive approaches to recruitment, ones that function well, compared to where we are. We're the big club with the 60,000 seater stadium, with 80 million quid in the bank, with the illustrious history. And if you didn't know that tonight, looking at that, you would think Midtjylland were the team and the club with those qualities.
Yeah, you would. I kind of think I almost look at our stadium now, the cauldron that it has been in the past, and I don't think we have a team that fit into that arena at the moment. I just don't. Midtjylland, on the other hand, are a team that are competing well above what their resources should be. It's not a big place. It's not somewhere you would associate necessarily even as a football hotbed, particularly despite sort of maybe some success in Denmark. And Celtic, well, first British champions of Europe, you know, like we're a club that have all the kind of brand intangibles and things that even some of the English Premier League clubs would probably look to with a bit of envy. But it's just not a well-run football club, Paul, and it's not even close to being well-run. And the Hail Mary, let's phone the one manager that can immediately unite the clans plan, I think could, because, and I'm touching, I've not got any actual wood here there, about Hearts, but that does seem to be a better run club. But I'm thinking that maybe we will have enough to get by with this, regardless of what happens in January. Maybe just having kind of Martin O'Neill there for however long it's going to be, and getting the right appointment in, we can manage to salvage the situation domestically and not lose the league title. But in terms of Europe, the cartwheel that we've gone backwards in less than 12 months is just so disappointing, mate. Like really, really disappointing. And I don't really see, like, the thing is, if I start thinking about Celtic long term, I'm just going to get depressed, because basically, as long as Dermot Desmond is there and the current administration is as it is, where they kind of treat us like almost like we are voting for them as a political party and we're to be managed like the electorate, with the way they do press releases and the fact they put certain things out in the same day as other things. It's that, and Chris is right. It is about having ambition, and I think their ambition is only to be the best domestically and to be run at somewhat of a profit, and that's just no good enough for me, and it's no good enough for the fans.
Well, you just alluded to, Stuart, there, the sort of feeling that we might have enough to scrape by domestically over the long run this season, and the board have spent forever patting themselves in the back for having enough to scrape by domestically, but when we come to this level, and like I say, increasingly we're being shown up by clubs with much less resources than us, it really does point to the recruitment operation. I know that we're here it's full-time reaction. We're here to talk about a game tonight, but we watched a game where a poor Celtic squad that has loads of holes in it, loads of gaps, not enough quality, not enough depth. We watched it come up short tonight against a club a fifth our size. So that's why the conversation does turn to the way the club is run and the shortcomings of the strategy and the recruitment operation. And like you say, every time the board talk to us, they tell us there's no problem with our strategy. It's our strategy, absolutely spot on. It's just it was the manager's fault, or it was the media's fault. They've lied to you, or it's the supporters' fault for overreacting. It's everybody else's fault, apart from anything to do with the strategy. Until you see a club like that with much less resources get much more out of themselves. Stuart, I suppose a bad night, really, really compounded by the injury to Callum Osmond, which was heartbreaking to see. You could tell he was in tears lying on the pitch before he got stretchered off. You could tell immediately that he'd pulled his hamstring, waited months and months to get a shot as a senior footballer, as a Celtic player, made a good impression off the bench against Falkirk, even better against Rangers, got on the score sheet, bright again tonight to win the penalty, and it looks like he's going to have a few months on the sidelines.
I'm gutted for him. It's probably my favourite moment of the season when he said, "This is the best day of my life" at the weekend there, after scoring a goal against Rangers. And see, the thing is, right, the thing that has me wholeheartedly on the bandwagon of Callum Osmond is he gambled. How many times do you see strikers in that situation and they don't gamble, and you just think, just take a chance. I anticipate the potential of scoring a goal. And he did, and he scored, and it was brilliant. And tonight, again, I thought, in kind of limited spells where we were able to see what he could do, he looked lively. His running's good. It's reminiscent of the type of players like a Kyogo, where you've got someone that can move a defence around and actually create a few problems, create a few headaches for them. Also, I like his close control. I think he's really, really smart with his feet. You saw that with the penalty. The obvious option was to come inside and have a shot on the left. And whether it's because he favours his right side or not, he went to the right and won the penalty just by sort of flummoxing the defender. And I really, really like him. And I like his attitude. I think he's the right balance between cocky and enthusiastic, which you want from a striker. And I'm really gutted for him. I think he's done enough that he's going to get another chance at Celtic, but it felt like the one, it's just this season in a nutshell, the one bright thing that was keeping me going now was that kid's broken into the team. It's quite good. And while you're watching Anthony Ralston demonstrating all the defensive now, say a junior player, you're thinking, oh, we've got this kid though, something's positive there. And then that happens and you're just like, just get in the bin, man. Scunnered.
It was a sour end till it was a bad night, as I say. And listen, we all hope that it's not as bad as you maybe fear. There's a couple of comments asking, is there any word on it? It just looked like he tore his hamstring. And like I say, I think the absolute best case scenario is that he'll probably be out for, 6-8 weeks. I'm not a physio or a doctor, but that tends to be the outcome when you see a player pull up like that. Under no challenge. I just want to bring in Craig's comment here. European competition was always going to provide the best indication of where we are, even with Martin O'Neill. I expect him to be diplomatic, but behind closed doors, he'll be telling the board the same story. I think that's spot on. I think that kind of sums up exactly where we're at after our result like tonight. Like I say, we can sit here all night and try and pick apart the moments of the game. We did that a wee bit with the goals, but I think we were just so inept and so short tonight. And now losing Osmond, that's an area of the pitch that's already woefully short in numbers, not just in quality. And now we only really have Johnny Kenny and Yamada, who's out in the cold, to even look at in that area of the pitch. So we do find ourselves, again, coming into European competition, looking for a barometer. It's not really winning against Falkirk or getting a win against a poor Rangers team who had 10 men for most of the game on the day. These are the games where you really see where Celtic are at. And like I say, there's loads of examples in Europe of smaller clubs, much smaller clubs than us, with less resources than us, doing a much, much better job of running their club and being progressive and modern and trying to push forward than what Celtic is at the minute. And all of these problems, it's been nice to get the results in the last two games, to feel a bit of positivity again, but none of these issues that the fans collectively have been complaining about over a sustained period now have gone away. And we saw them laid bare again tonight against a good side, a good functional side who are strong, and they really just brushed us aside. And like I say, when you compare the size of the clubs and the size of the resources, that's a really poor place to be for us, Stuart.
Aye, totally. I think if Celtic won every game between now and the end of the season, it would still not change the fact that there is a massive problem at this football club in terms of the way it's run. And that's not going anywhere. And the key part for me is if you're trying to attract a good permanent manager to come in, a young, ambitious manager, like the club says, right, someone who's going to be progressive and take us to another level perceivably, right? One, they're not going to be able to do that because they're not going to get the resources or the wherewithal to do so. And two, they're not going to come in the first place because they're going to look at the tyre fire that Celtic is in terms of the way it's run and just not bother.
Aye, it'll be interesting to see where we go with this managerial appointment. Again, it's something that I said last night. We have to get it in place for well before January, but so that we can have a sort of view of the future and how we move forward through the January transfer window to try and patch up the squad, and then to try and salvage the season domestically. We know there's a load of comments about the Europa League, and it's relative importance now because of where we find ourselves domestically. We're talking about European football being the benchmark where you find out where you're at. We're also short in the league just now. And again, that tells you everything. I know that it's not great content maybe to come and hear us say the same things after games like this, but when they're showing up like that tonight, I feel like it is all there is to discuss. I feel like it's the elephant in the room, and you certainly can't talk about it when you get good results because people will go, you get a good result and you're still complaining about that stuff. So when we see it tonight against a club like Midtjylland, I think it's really important to keep highlighting it and keep it at the top of the agenda because it won't go away until we start to change and modernise and improve the structure and how the clubs run. We're going to keep coming up short against clubs who are doing things properly and being progressive. Right. That's it for tonight. It's a short full-time reaction. Thank you for joining us. Thank you to Stuart for coming on. And I'll be back with you before the weekend for the build-up to that league game against Kilmarnock. Thank you.